here today to explain our concept of the week of simplifying fractions. This is something throughout the school year that some of us really caught on to when we went over it, and that some of us really struggled with. There's multiple ways that we can simplify fractions, but just remember that the whole purpose of simplifying fractions is to get the fraction into its simplest form. I wouldn't say if I had a pizza and I had 4 out of 8 slices left. So if I had my pizza and I have only 4 of the slices left in the pizza, I wouldn't normally say I have 4/8 of my pizza left. I would say I have half of my pizza left. So simplifying fractions is just another way of showing equivalent fractions, but getting it down to the simplest form of what you have left. I have 1/2 left. Okay, so let's go over a couple of ways of how to simplify fractions. Okay, the first way is finding the simplest version by finding the greatest common factor. Okay, so the greatest common factor, so just for an example, number 1 on your work for the week, you have 14/20. Okay, if I want to simplify this down to get the smallest form, I first can go and find out all the factors of 14. So I know that I can do 1 times 14, and I can do 2 times 7, and that's it, right? Okay, for 20, the factors are 1 and 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Okay, so to simplify fractions by finding the greatest common factor, I need to figure out what the largest number is that they both have in common. So I'm going to circle the numbers that they have in common. They both have 1 in common. They both have 2 in common, and it looks like that's it. Now, we're never going to use 1, because if I go and I divide each of these by 1, I end up with the same thing. I haven't reduced it down at all. And if 1 is the only thing that they have in common, then that is going to mean that it's already in its simplest form, okay? So you can always know that we're not going to use the 1, okay? However, it looks like this greatest common factor is 2. Okay, so to find to simplify the fraction, you first need to divide it by the greatest factor that they have in common, or the GCF. So let me divide each of these by 2. 14 divided by 2 equals 7. 20 divided by 2 equals 10. Okay, and since I divided it by their greatest common factor, I'm done, and I know that I have the simplest form. Okay, so let's try another one using the greatest common factor method. And this, to do the greatest common factor method, you really got to make sure that you know your multiplication facts. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's see if I can find a little bit of a harder one. Number 15 says 18/24. Okay, so to find it using the greatest common factor method, I first need to find my factors of each number. So 18 and 24. Okay, so the factors of 18 are 1 times 18, 1 in itself. And notice how I go in order. 1, then 2. So 2 times what? 2 times 9. Then 3 times 6. Can 4 go into 18? No. Can 5 go into 18? No. Can 6 go into 18? Yes, I already have it written down. Once you kind of come back around and you see other numbers you already had, then you're done. You're done. You found all of them, okay? So that is what I have for 18. So let's do 24. 1 and 24. 2 and 12. 3 times 8. 4 times 6. 5 can't go into it. 6 I already have, so I'm done. Okay, so now what I want to do is, now that I have all of my factors written down for each of these, I want to find the ones that are in common, okay? So they both have 1 in common. They both have 2. They both have 3 in common. They don't both have 4. They do both have 6. They don't both have 8. They don't both have 9, 12, 18, 24. Okay, so the ones that I've circled here are the ones they have in common. Now remember, when I'm using the greatest common factor method, okay, I am dividing it by the greatest common factor, not the smallest, because watch what happens if I divide it by just 2. This would give me 9. This would give me 12. Okay, yes, you have simplified it a little bit, but you have not simplified it to its simplest form, because I could still go now and do divided by 3 would give me, okay, so you always want to choose. Now I'm going to show you this method here in a minute, okay? I want to, when using the greatest common factor method, I want to choose the greatest, the biggest factor they have in common, okay? So the biggest factor they have in common is 6. Okay, so if I divide each of these numbers by 6, 18 divided by 6 is 3. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So my simplified form of 18 24ths is 3/4. Okay, so now that I've shown you this method, method 1 of doing it using the greatest common factor, let me show you another method, okay? A method that might save you a little bit of time because you don't have to write out all of the factors. Okay, so this will be method 2. So let's go back to number 15 that we were just on. Okay, we were just on number 15, which was 18 24ths. And I want to find the greatest, I want to find the simplest form. I wouldn't, if I had some pizza left and I had 18 out of 24 slices, I wouldn't necessarily say I have 18 24ths of the pizza left. It would make more sense if I said, a smaller fraction. Now realize that when I say smaller, you're not actually reducing the fraction in any way or the amount in any way, because you still have the same amount of pizza. You're just trying to say it in the simplest way that you can. Like earlier, when I had 4/8 of the pizza, saying that I have half of the pizza makes a lot more sense than saying that you have 4/8 of the pizza. Okay, so the next way that you can do this is by starting low. Okay, so dividing by 2 each time. Okay, so see if you can divide by 2 each time. Then once you can't divide by 2 anymore, see if you can divide by 3. If you can't divide by 3, then you'll see if you can divide by 5. If you can't divide by 5, then you'll see if you can divide by 7, okay? So let's try this method. The first part of this method is seeing if you can divide by 2. And yes, I can divide each of these by 2. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Then I try to divide by 2 again. Notice that 9 cannot be divided by 2. Okay, I would get a decimal number. So now that I have tried dividing by 2 again, I want to go and try to divide by 3. And see if both of those can go into that. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, and notice that there is nothing else. I'm at the lowest term, okay? If it's one number off, it's at its lowest term, okay? It doesn't always have to be one number off, but neither of them have. So if I go back to my greatest common factor way, 3 is 1 and 3. 4 is 1 and 4 and 2 times 2. Notice they don't have anything else in common except for dividing by 1. So this is my lowest term, okay? So let's look at another one using this method, okay? All right, so let's try another one with this method. Let's look at number 14. I have 20, 30 seconds, okay? So instead of doing the greatest common factor way, where I have to find out all the factors, we can just go, we can start with trying to divide by 2 each time. So if I try to divide by 2 here and divide by 2 here, okay, if they're both even numbers, you will be able to divide by 2. Okay, so 20 divided by 2 is 10. 32 divided by 2 is 16. Next step, try dividing by 2 again. Ten divided by 2 is 5. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay. Now try dividing by 2 again. Okay, notice I can divide 8 by 2, but I cannot divide 5 by 2 because 5 is an odd number. Okay, so I know I can't do that anymore. Now let's try dividing by 3. Well, neither of these can be divisible or is divisible by 3. So I know that that's not an option. Let's try and divide by 5. Well, I can divide 5 by 5. However, 8 is not a multiple of 5, so I cannot do 5. Divided by 7, can't do that either. Okay, so this is my lowest form. They have nothing else in common that I can divide by. Okay? So our next method, the next method I want to show you is going to be your friend if you are really good at your multiplication facts. Okay? This is the way that you'll really start doing it once you get better at simplifying fractions, once you get better at math. So let's look at number 18. This method is, if you know your facts well enough, you should be able to look at both numbers and see what they have in common. So for example, I know, because I know my facts really well, I know that both of these numbers are divisible by 5. I know that these are both multiples of 5. So when I divide, 25 divided by 5 is 5. 40 divided by 5 is 8. And I know that 5 and 8 do not have anything else in common that they can be divided by. So 5/8 is the answer. Okay, so going back to another one that we have done before, let's look at number 15. And let me just show you a scenario of what could happen. What if you go here and you say, oh, I know that both of these numbers are divisible by 3. You're totally right. And it's okay to do it this way. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And a lot of times students will say, oh, good, it looks low enough. However, you always have to check to see if they have things in common again that they need to go even lower. For example, I know that these are both even numbers, so both of these are going to be divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so it's okay to do multi-step as long as you're getting to the lowest, the simplest form of that fraction. Okay, so let's do one more that we've, let's see, we'll do one that we haven't done yet. Number 4 with this method, 12/15. Because I'm good at my multiplication facts, I know that both of these are divisible by 3. 12 divided by 3 equals 4. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. And that is my lowest fraction. Okay, guys, I hope this helps you with this. Remember that you can choose any of the methods to solve this, just whatever works best for you. I just want to let you know that y'all have been an absolute pleasure to teach this year. I couldn't have asked for a better year. I hate that it was cut short, but we definitely have experienced a lot together over the last 6 weeks doing school virtually. It's definitely been interesting and something that none of us will probably ever live through again. And I just want to let you guys know I love you guys. I'm here for you always. My door's always open. If you need anything, do not hesitate to send me an email or to stop by once we get back into school. You guys have a very bright future ahead of yourself. Just remember to choose your friends wisely. and to never give up on anything. So I hope to see you all guys soon. Miss y'all like crazy, and I love y'all.